Alright folks, in this project we're going to create a Pokemon battle game. So this is going to be a 5-week project. We have 1 hour per week. So it's going to be a little tight. If you can see, I'm not going to reveal all the codes here, but it has about 300 lines because I have a lot of comments and a lot of double spaces here. So it's going to be a little challenge, but I think this is a great motivation for you to learn a programming language. So here we're going to use Python, and I'm going to show you what the result would look like. So if you run it, there's going to be a little battle here with the text box and some text, and there's HPs. And you click to move on, and there's some options here to choose from. Tackle has a 100% chance of hit, but has low damage. And Flamethrower or Thunderbolt will have a higher damage, but there's a chance to miss. And Takedown will have a higher damage, but also comes with a recoil damage. Oh, I missed. Oh, it's a critical hit. And players get to choose to use a berry here to heal. So it goes on like that. So we're going to create this together. We're going to make some tweaks if possible. We're going to do it together. The first step we need to do is download some assets for our game. So now that you have seen the demo, you'll probably have some idea of what you'll need. So first one is we need, obviously, the Pokemon models, the sprites, that's what they're called. So the image can be downloaded if you go to Google and search Battle Sprites Reloaded. Notice the spell here, and click on this link and go a little bit below and download either SD or HD. It doesn't matter. Probably HD has a better look, so I went with this one. So you can download using these links. So that's the first step. Once you download these, it's going to show a GIF file. So GIF file is basically a series of images kind of continuously playing. We need to break this down into single frame. We need to break it down to a single picture. We have to use this software here, easygif.com, and it will break it down for you. So you can download a zip file coming from this. It has a file size limit. I uploaded something big and it's kind of stuck here, but it should have no problem with small files. Next one, we need some sound effects. If you search Google Pokemon SFX attack moves and sound effects collection, go to this Reddit link, and if you go to this download link here, you can download some sounds. It will create those for you. So once that's ready, we would like to download a background as well. So choose whatever you like. Anything would work. Another one I forgot to type here is the text box, basically where the text is displayed. So anything would work. I like this one. That goes well with these nice models. Maybe this is a little too outdated, but this is totally up to you. Now, next step is to create a working directory. So you would like to create a folder that will contain all your game files. So I've created something called game tutorial here. This is what I'm going to use. Game sample was the demo that I created. So this is a complete game. So I'm going to start from scratch again from here. Alright, before I proceed, these are the files that I have prepared for our game. So there are 2 Pokemon image files, background and text box, as well as some sound effects here. And we'll launch Visual Studio Code. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to open folder we locate the working directory that we created, which is here. Once you select the whole folder, you don't have to keep double clicking. You select folder and it will load that folder here. So you can make it collapse, or you can do that, but all the files that we downloaded online are here. And you can create a new file from here. So new file, new folder, there are options. So here, a new file. Let's create main.py. So this will be a Python file, which means this will include some Python codes. So we can start coding in this file here. So if you select a different file, you can kind of hear if it's a sound file. If it's image file, you can view the image. But mostly we're going to be here. The first thing we want to do is to import some library. A library is like a pre-built function. Consider it as like a vending machine. So somebody has built a lot of functions for you. You just have to call them to use them. You don't have to build them at all. So let's do that here. Import Pygame. Pygame is the library name. And then we have to be able to use it. To use it, we have to initialize it. So within this Pygame, there's a lot of functions here. If you type in pygame dot, these are all the functions. Audio, button, mouse, there's a lot of things. The first thing you do is the initialization. So this way you load up this library. So when you borrow a book, you have to open it. If you borrow a book and forget about it, you can't use it, right? So this part here, I'm going to create a comment. You can write this symbol here to leave a comment for your for developers or for you. So load Pygame. It's a library. Yeah, let's just call it simple like that. All right, so we can use a lot of functions pre-built in Pygame, and what's the first step we do? Well, when we launch a game, we need a window. A separate window pops up, and typically there we see a lot of interactions in there. So let's build a screen display here. And to do this, there are many ways to do things, but a lot of programmers prefer to use variables so that when they change their mind, they can modify the values pretty quickly. So one good habit is something like this. So let's call it screen width. I'm going to define it as 1080. Screen height. Instead of 720, that's 1080 by 720. That's quite typical 16:9 ratio. But instead I'm going to say 950. It's because Pokemon games have a separate text box underneath. So I'm kind of thinking about Nintendo DS, 3DS type deal. There's a separate screen below. So let's kind of make that style. So simply what I've done here, I have assigned some numbers into these variables. So variables are kind of like a box. So you're putting these numbers or objects in a box so that you can use them later. Why do you want to use it later? Maybe you are going to use it repeatedly. Basically to use it a lot. So when we define width and height, we actually have to make a screen with these numbers. So making a screen is also in Pygame. It's the display function, and there's a set mode. Notice that every function you call, there's like a guidance here. It gives you recommended parameters. So here you see that it requires a coordinate and requires a bracket. So here it's going to be a double bracket. And in here I can write 1080, 950 like that. But if I use this over and over down the line, I have to change all these numbers. So I just want to change this number here. I don't want to change it for all the lines. So that's why we use a variable. We're going to use it over and over, like that. Copy and paste into here, like that. So then when I change this, these change at the same time. So it's quite easy to debug and find fixes and so on. And this will create a window, a screen, a new pop-up window. And that window, it's better to have its name, so we can assign some names for that window. So Pygame display set caption, and we can write something here. Let's say Pokemon Battle Game. That's what we're making here. So right now, it's going to create a screen, but when you actually launch, it kind of pops and then it just shuts down immediately. The reason for that is that this game has no body paragraph. So every game needs a body paragraph. So when it runs, it keeps running. It's not like run once and close. This is kind of fixed, so we'll have to kind of mimic what I write here. So this is running the game. So first we have to set a variable that is run. This is very typical for a Python game. And since the game has to run constantly, we have to put it in a loop. Loop is doing it over and over. So while the game is running, basically, until you quit, it just keeps running. So these part here, this is quite fixed. So typically when you start making a Python game, you typically copy and paste, and you go from there. So what do we do actually in the game? So all these, like doing stuff, comes all here. One more thing I should mention is when you run a game, it doesn't display a static image, right? Every second, there's a movement in the screen. And you probably have heard of this. This is called frame per second. So how many pictures are displaying per second? So the more pictures it displays, the smoother the motion becomes. So basically this window here that we're going to launch is a lot of long length of series of pictures we're going to be seeing. So FPS, this is frame per second. So in order for something to move in our screen, we need this. So this is also something that we do kind of copy and paste it. This all game must have this, unless you want to just stare at a static picture. Typically, FPS is set to 30 or 60. I'm going to set it to 60 here. And these are, again, just variables. I'm just calling the function here. Clock, it's basically to use the tick. And frame per second, how many pictures per second are we going to show in that screen? Include tick FPS here, like that. And frame per second, it must update the screen. So that part, we write it like this. So these ones, we only write it once, all these, and then we don't have to worry about it. So far, we created a screen, just a black screen, and we updated our frame rate, and that's all we did. That's why if you launch a game, it's just black screen. It is updating, but there's nothing to update. There's no picture involved. If you look at the main paragraph here, until you quit the game, it runs and updates, but there's nothing. So let's add something here so that we can actually see something. So let's start with the background and the text box image. So load background and text box images. Let's define a variable first. Background image, like that. And we have to load a file because background image, we have a file here as a JPG file. So to load, we use also the Pygame function. There's an image function, and you can load, and you have to specify the location. So here, there's no further folder, so just background.jpg. It's in the same directory as main.py. So it's that. And let's load text box as well. Text box image. Same thing. Pygame. Image. Load. Bracket. And the file name. Textbox.png. And again, if you just run, nothing's going to happen because we're not calling, we're just setting a variable. So again, in the box, we put this file here. So now these variables are images, but in the body, nothing happens. So if you run this, nothing happens. So we have to show this variable here. So how do you show this? So let's add this one. Screen blit is how you display something based on a variable. So here it's background, B, background image. And if you look at the parameters here, you give a coordinate. So for a background image, there's no position. You just put it in there. So coordinate will be 0, 0, which is the top left. And also at the same time, screen blit. We have to show the text box as well, text box image. And text box is not 0. Why is that? Well, our screen's on top, and where that screen ends in the bottom, we insert the text box. Let's actually look at what's happening first. If you load it up, it looks like this. So I want this text box to go below, and also the text box and the background image, the width is not matching. So that's going to be some problem here. So basically the image size is not consistent among these files. So I have to kind of scale the image so that it fits in this screen 1080p here. So how do you do that? We have to scale it. In order to use a scale function, we have to do something here. We can't just use it as is. So here, I'm going to load OG background. This is a variable that I'm defining. And I'm going to, actually, let's change this one. OG background, like that. And then I'm going to define this, actually, background image. So then this background image will be this new variable that I'm going to be defining here. And using the transform function, I can scale the image. So here, surface just means a variable here, OG background. And I want to set it to an absolute value. So 1080, right? So here I'm going to write 1080, 720. So then this image will be exactly 1080 by 720. How about the text box here? I'm going to, same way, call this OG text box and text box img. Oh, what's happening? Then this new variable will be shown here, right? So that what I write here will be shown on the screen. So same way, Pygame transform scale. And we take the original text box and we're going to scale it to this resolution. Here, the top image is 1080 by 720. The screen size is 1080 by 950. So you subtract 720 from 950, which is 230. So width is going to be 1080. Height's going to be 230. So 720 plus 230 is 950. So if you load it, run this again, it will look like that. So now the text box matches the width of this background. All I need to do is just put the text box down below. To do that, this is where the image ends. This is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So if you load it again, 1080, 00 starts from top left. As you go towards the right, it increases in x value. As you go towards the bottom, it increases in y value. So therefore, this text box image must be positioned at 720, and you get this result. So this is exactly what I wanted. So we have successfully loaded the image here. And next one, let's load up some Pokemon, because this is just a background. We would like some Pokemon there. By the way, background image is not substantial in playing the game. So in that case, even if the background file is missing, there's a way to still allow the game to run. That is try and accept. So try, and then you have to include accept as well. And typically we write pass here. So this means you can try to load this image and scale it. And if you cannot, forget about it. Just run the game. That's what it means. The same here. Without text box, without background, we can still play the game, even if the file is missing. So these are totally optional. You don't have to include it. But if you don't include this, if the file's missing, then you cannot play this game. Okay, let's load some Pokemon. And this is going to be related to the model. So this is basically the same thing as loading these two images. So I'm just going to copy and paste down here. And also, I'm going to copy and paste here. And I'm going to name it load, back images for now. So Pokemon model, here I have a file named 00. So I have to change the file name first. So I'm going to do that, Pokemon 00. And here, Pokemon 10. And the file type is GIF. I have to change for both. And the variable name must be different from the background there. So I'm going to name it OG Pokemon 0. And then this is going to be Pokemon 0. Sometimes Pokemon will have a lot of attributes like health bars, attack, defense, and all that. So it's sometimes good to indicate that this is a image file. So we can do something like that when defining a variable. So then here, if you read here again, I'm going to load this image and put it into OG Pokemon image 0. And I'm going to take this image, copy, I have to put it here, take this image, and rescale it and put it in here. But this is a little weird. If I write it this way, this Pokemon build could be this big. This is weird. So we can't do that. So here I want to scale it here. I don't want to put a dimension here. I want to put like twice or half times or something like that. So then there's a way to do that. So I want to scale it like twice, like factor of 2 or something. To do that, we have to obtain the width and height. So there's a different way. So what is that way? So let's call it Pokemon 0 image. Pokemon image 0, right? Width. I'm going to call it like that. And there's a way to obtain the image's width and height. Oh, it's not in Pygame. Actually, this is in OG background image get width. Okay, there you go. So this way, from this image here, from this image, I'm going to obtain its width. Same with the height. So copy and paste here. This will be height. And this will be height. So then we store the width and height from the file, from the image file, and we want to scale it using these two variables. Remember, if you want to use those specific numbers, we need variables. So here, instead of this random thing that I put in, we can scale it actually. So here, I'm going to use width first and times, I don't know how big these sizes are. I'm just going to put it like this. So then, yeah, it will just load as is. But I know that the scale is going to be wrong, so that's why I wrote it here. Alright, and then the next, we're going to exactly copy and paste the same thing here, like that. But this time it's going to be 1. The file name's different, variable's different. Width and height, we're going to store it in a different variable like that. And the final image is also different, getting from all its corresponding images. And also here, we're calling background image twice. We don't want to do that. We want to call now Pokemon image 0, like that. And here it's going to be Pokemon image 1. And the position, we're just going to do it 0, 0. So let's just go from here. It's not going to be perfect. So you see the relative size here. Raichu is too big. Charizard is too small. So let's scale it first. So how about with Raichu, half is going to be too tiny. How about like 75-ish, 75%? You multiply that, and it will decrease accordingly. Charizard must be way bigger. Twice. Let's not go that much. 1.5, and we can adjust accordingly. So if you run it again, it's like that. Since Raichu's closer and Charizard's far away, this kind of makes sense. But I'm going to increase a little bit by this much here. And then run it again. And I think the scale is pretty good. So now we have to move the positions of these images. Remember X and Y, right? So for Raichu, which is Pokemon 0, how about we do like about 50 and like 400? And then for Charizard, maybe like 650. And then I think the height is okay. So if you do that, it's going to be something like that. Yeah, so Raichu must be a little bit lower, so the y-axis must be larger. So instead of 40, let's do like 350. It's just a random number. I'm not sure if it's going to work. It's like that. So it looks better. I like the position of the Raichu already. So I'll leave it as is. I would like Charizard to be a little bit higher because it's flying. So let's do like negative 50 or something and go from there. Yeah, that's more like it. So remember, health bar is going to go on each other corners. So we will have to kind of take that into consideration as well. Here, I think a little bit higher, 75. Yeah, now I like it. So yeah, this episode ends here. So next time we'll add health bars and some text messages and names and so on. So I'll see you in the next video.